All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, we should be live.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sage Turner, Chair of the Asheville Regional Housing Consortium. I'd like to welcome you to our meeting today. It's July 6, 2023. We're streaming live on our Virtual Engagement Hub, which is accessible through the Virtual Engagement Hub link on the front page of the city's website. We also have an option for the public to listen live by phone. That number is 855-925-2801. And when prompted, the meeting code is 8763. I'm going to go through and do introduction and board members and staff. And if you could, please come off mute briefly and say a quick hello. We know that Robin Merrill, Vice Chair, Town of Marshall, and she allowed me to say this, candidate for District Judge. Robin Merrill will be absent today, but I'm thrilled to be able to say that. Karen Kino. Did Karen join us? I thought I saw. No? Okay. Sam Starbaum. Yep.
Yeah, thanks so much. Sam Starbaum, Planner 2 with the City of Asheville, representing here for the first time as a full voting member of the board.
Welcome, Sam.
So it's good to see you all again. That's
great. Thank you and welcome. Jennifer Miranda.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Oh, okay. I don't have you on video. Maybe that's intentional. Eric Rufa. Don't see Eric. Elizabeth Hanson.
Hey, everyone.
John Connett. Okay, Jonathan Jones.
Good afternoon.
I think that might be Matt logging in right now. Matt Cable, if you can hear us, say a quick hello.
Hey, Sage, this is Matt Cable.
Right in time for roll call. Emily Brewer.
Hi, everyone.
Forrest Gilliam.
Hey there.
Ricky Hurley.
Good afternoon.
Kate Hayes.
Hi, everyone.
And is Alice with us? Alice Berry? No.
Just joined. Hey, can you hear me?
You are. Good timing. Everybody's on good timing.
Thanks.
Okay, great. And we have a couple. Lacey, are you new? Are you Lacey?
I'm here representing Homeward Bound.
Oh, okay, great. Wasn't sure. I can see you there. All right, thank you. So some staff leadership, Community and Economic Development Director, Nikki Reed.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Great. And Community Development Division Manager, Dennis Newbern.
Good afternoon.
All right. Also, welcome to Dennis. Dennis has not met with us before. He's new to the city of Asheville. We're thrilled to have him. Thank you for joining us today. All right, so we do have quorum, so we're going to jump to the agenda, and the first item is, of course, approving the previous minutes. Could anybody have any changes or updates? And if not, may I get a motion?
This is Forrest. I move to approve.
Okay. How about a second?
This is Sam. I second.
Great. Newbies seconding. I like it. So I'm going to do a roll call vote. I'm going to do it as I see you on my screen. Sam.
Aye.
Liz.
Hi.
Jenny. Jenny. No. No. Jennifer.
Hi. Sorry.
Okay. Emily.
Hi.
Ricky.
Aye.
Forrest.
Aye.
Jonathan Jones.
Aye.
Kate.
Hi.
Alice.
Hi.
And Laura. Nope. Who am I missing? Karen down there. Sorry, I can only see letters. Some of you don't have your... Okay, and there's Matt. Matt, let's get you too.
Aye.
All right. All right, that is everybody. If I missed you, speak up because it's kind of confusing with a lot of you off camera or I have bad service. Are a lot of you off camera? Okay. All right. Just making sure. Okay. We are going to quickly get moving. We've approved the minutes from March, and we have some community and economic development staff updates from Nikki Reed. Nikki, do you want to do a quick?
Sure thing, absolutely. So really the major focus of my updates today is to introduce Dennis Newbern. It has been a while since this group has convened, so I wanted to do a proper introduction of Dennis. And so Dennis will be our staff manager for the Regional Housing Consortium. We're very fortunate that Dennis actually has a lot of experience. In fact, has worked with a regional housing consortium like this in his previous employment. So Dennis has been with the city for maybe 7 weeks now, I think.
Eight weeks. Yeah.
All right. So 8 weeks, a semester. We're really glad to have him. In fact, he had some ideas. I know this group has talked about hopefully convening in person to really get to know one another, maybe do some board training. So he and I have been talking about that. But really, I think, Dennis, I'd like to just give you the floor. If you can share a bit about your background and perhaps give us some more ideas to consider with respect to an in-person meeting for our next convening. So Dennis, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Nikki. And whenever they say share a background, that means the euphemistic phrase for meaning old, and I am that. Old enough to remember when the home program started, as well as worked in its predecessor, which is rental rehabilitation. So I've been around for a minute or two. Having said that, first of all, I appreciate the opportunity to be here, and then hopefully I'll get to meet all of you at a later point in time. Very much appreciate the work and the projects that have gone on prior to my arrival here, and hope to be a part in things that you have planned for the future. With regards to the consortium and the things that Nikki and I have spoken about and would like to convey to all of you, first of all, at some point in time, and probably the next meeting, I'll ask that we do an in-person meeting for a couple of reasons. One, to provide some training with regards to our role as the participating jurisdiction or the PJ, and your role as members of the consortium. I am very cognizant. I've been reminded several times that it's not just about Asheville, there's 4 counties involved, so I will always remember that in our discussions. And I'm certain that as my journeys have gone so far, if I forget, I'll be reminded of that. But having said that, I think that for the work that's gone on in the past, and certainly credit to you, Jonathan, as well, for the things that have gone on here in the past, they've really had a tremendous impact on the 4 counties. I'm hoping that we can continue that. I'm hoping that through the remaining funding that we have available, as well as new funds, and of course with the home ARP funds, that we're able to have an even greater impact in our community serving low to moderate income persons. So thank you.
That's wonderful. I didn't realize you'd be taking on this specific role, so that's exciting as well. Thank you.
I didn't either until after I agreed to take the job. So,
well, we'll enjoy it, I'm sure. So, interesting idea on getting together in person. I will say in the 3 years I have been chairing this board, I have never met in person with y'all because we started in COVID, and that is just strange. I'm, fine with doing this virtual. It does ease our schedules a little bit, but we'll talk about it. I appreciate the invitation to get us all together. Okay, so Nikki, was that your only update?
Yes, that's it for me.
Great. So that, for those of you listening at home, we just concluded item number 3. Item number 4 is home ARP update. So it sounds like some supportive services and construction, 2 different updates. And Miranda, maybe you'll go first.
So I'm going to do Miranda and a little bit of Christina too.
Okay.
With regard to home ARP, I don't know, I'm assuming that you all have some familiarity with that program, but the home ARP was the last of the ARPA type related activities that were funded by Congress. And in doing so with this one, there's some opportunities to do some things with the home program that we perhaps couldn't do under the regular home program. You approved as part of the application to HUD for funding, addressing 2 issues, housing construction, of course, and then the second area was supportive services. Very excited about the supportive services piece. Many times we are in a situation where we're faced with trying to provide affordable housing, but we forget in many instances that keeping what's been obtained is very, very difficult. So the idea of providing wraparound services, if you will, that will assist people to maintain what they currently have as they aspire to obtain new or additional type of housing is kind of what this section's about. In my short time here, one of the things that I recommended doing was based on a couple of things. One, I recognize that the construction season is slipping away. And so the construction piece of this remains the most important part. To that end, we are going to do 2 requests for proposals. One that will address the construction aspect of it, And it's my hope that by early August, that RFP will be out. The same with supportive services. There are some nonprofit organizations in the 4 counties that may have a desire to participate in accessing funds for supportive housing, but aren't necessarily involved in the construction of housing. So the opportunity to split both of those up kind of made sense to us at a department level. More on both of those later, but just to kind of give you an update at this particular point, I wanted you to know that we are in the works of trying to get both of these out as soon as possible, and I'm hoping by August, September, they will be out and made available to interested parties.
Oh, that's helpful. And we're certainly abreast of the process, and we've kind of slowed down. And I think, looking back, I'm glad we have slowed down now that we are where we are. I think some situations have settled, some others have risen. So it's going to be helpful, I think, that we didn't just rush out of the gate and determine how to use this funding. So thank you for the update. And so that's all you wanted to share on both, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. I like how concise too. So for those of you listening, we've completed number 4 and we're now moving on to number 5, which is a homeward bound TPRA amendment and update. Who is presenting on that or sharing?
I am.
Okay. Hi, Laura.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Go ahead. You've got the floor.
Let me pull up the presentation. It's just a minute. Hang on.
I don't know if our staff doing it or you've got it.
Athena's gonna pull up the presentation quickly.
We're moving faster than we thought, so no worries.
Okay, so this is the Homeward Bound Home TBRA amendment. Next slide. So key takeaways from this: in early 2023, Homeward Bound met with the city staff to discuss the difficulties they're encountering while trying to spend home TBRA funds. They were awarded over multiple fiscal years in order to be good stewards of the funds. Difficulties that Homeward Bound expressed included a shift in the homeless population within the city of Asheville, high staff turnover, and the upcoming conclusion of CDBG CV funding, which is being used for rapid rehousing purposes. The agency has seen a diminishing number of chronically homeless individuals who need long-term housing services, and they would qualify for permanent supportive housing programs, and an increasing number of individuals experiencing episodes of homelessness that do not need long-term supportive services, and they qualify for rapid rehousing programs. Homeward Bound does not have any TBRA funds that were allocated for the use within the rapid rehousing program. All of their TBRA funds previously awarded are to be used to support the permanent supportive housing program. Staff is seeking action from ARHC to amend the fiscal year 2021 annual action plan to modify the activities of Homeward Bound's fiscal year 21-22 home TBRA program to include both permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing to help spend down existing TBRA funds and to accommodate for the new needs and changes in the homeless population. Next slide. So a little bit about their home TBRA program. Homeward Bound's home TBRA funds are to be used to help the chronically homeless households obtain permanent supported housing, and this is done in the form of utility deposits, security deposits, utility payments, and rent payments. For the fiscal year 2021, Homeward Bound was awarded $80,000. They have about $74,000 of that still remaining, and the same year they got awarded $100,000 in home TBRA funds, and those are to be used within Buncombe County. For the fiscal year 21-22, Homeward Bound was awarded $80,000 in home TBRA funds to be used within the city of Asheville and $100,000 in home TBRA funds to be used within Buncombe County. Both of these allocations have not gone to contract yet. And that's the amendment we're going to be talking about, is to those 2 fiscal year TBRA allocations. The fiscal year 21-22 home TBRA funds have not gone to contract yet because it only serves permanent supportive housing clients, and there's already an existing and mostly unspent amount of money from the previous fiscal year that serves the same population. Next slide. Continuing on about their TBRA program, like I said earlier, all of Homeward Bound's TBRA allocations are solely to be used within the permanent supportive housing program. They do not currently have any TBRA funds that can be used within the rapid rehousing program. TBRA funds that are used within city limits are linked with community development block grant housing services funds. CDBG funds are currently used for the management of Homeward Bound's TBRA funds for their permanent supportive housing program. And then for the fiscal year 22-23, CDBG funds are being used to administer their fiscal year 2021 TBRA funds in their permanent supportive housing program. Yes, John.
For those of us listening at home, what does TBRA stand for?
Tenant-based rental assistance.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Next slide. And because these are tied to the CDBG funds, just a little bit about their CDBG housing services program. Homeward Bound CDBG housing services funds are used to administer the TBRA Asheville funds to help chronically homeless individuals obtain permanent supportive housing. And this is primarily used to pay for the salaries of permanent supportive housing program staff. For the fiscal year 22-23, Homeward Bound was awarded $82,000. They have about $50,000 of that remaining of CDBG funds. The funds are currently being used to administer the fiscal year 2021 TBRA funds in the permanent supportive housing program. And then recently for the fiscal year 23-24, Homeward Bound was awarded about $108,000 in CDBG funds for housing services. This funding is to be used for the administration of home TBRA funds, both for permanent supportive housing and for rapid rehousing. This allocation has not gone to contract yet because we're still waiting on the HUD contract to come through. Next slide. So I made this little graph to kind of explain which funds we're trying to amend. The ones in green, we're going to keep the same, but the ones in red, we want to amend them to also incorporate rapid rehousing as an eligible use for their funds. So we want to change the 2021, both the home Asheville TBRA funds and the Buncombe County TBRA funds. Next slide. So staff recommendations. Homeward Bound, they already have an existing rapid rehousing program. They've shown their capacity to effectively run the program with demonstrated outcomes. This amendment would align with the most recent fiscal year 23-24 CDBG housing services allocation, which provides services in both the permanent supportive housing program and the rapid rehousing program. And this would also allow for the fiscal year 23-24 CDBG funds to be used to administer the fiscal year 21-22 home TBRA funds. The fiscal year 21-22 home TBRA funds have not gone to contract yet because they only serve permanent supportive housing clients, and there's already an existing and mostly unspent amount of money from the previous fiscal year that serves the same population. This amendment allowing rapid rehousing to be used for these funds serves a slightly different population, which would allow us to go to contract immediately and draw down from the funds as soon as possible. The amendment would likely result in a shorter average length of program participation, an overall increase in the number of households served, help Homeward Bound expend their existing TBRA funds, as well as give supportive services to rapid rehousing clients as soon as the contract is finalized. And additionally, this amendment is considered eligible by HUD. Next slide. Key takeaways: in early 2023, Homeward Bound met with the staff to discuss the difficulties they were countering while trying to spend down these funds. Difficulties included a shift in the homeless population, high staff turnover, and the conclusion of the CDBG CV funding, which was used to support the rapid rehousing program. The agency has seen a diminishing number of chronically homeless individuals who need long-term housing services. Those qualify for permanent supportive housing programs, and an increasing number of individuals experiencing episodes of homelessness that do not need long-term supportive services, those who qualify for rapid rehousing programs. Homeward Bound does not have any TBRA funds that were allocated for the use within the rapid rehousing program. All TBRA funds previously awarded are to be used to support the permanent supportive housing program. Staff is seeking action to amend the fiscal year 2021 annual action plan to modify the activities of Homeward Bound's fiscal year 21-22 home TBRA program to include both permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing to help spend down these existing TBRA funds and to accommodate for the new needs and changes in the homeless population. Next slide. And the suggested motion is to recommend that the Asheville Regional Housing Consortium approve an amendment to the fiscal year 21-22 annual action plan, modifying the activities of Homeward Bound of WNC fiscal year 21-22 home tenant-based rental assistant program to include both permanent supportive housing and rapid rehousing, and then to authorize the city manager to sign all necessary documents to this effect. Next slide. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Laura. And I can't see you all. Who was our Homeward Bound rep that joined us today?
Lacey and Jenny, I believe.
can you come up and say hello so you can pop up on camera too? I can't see you.
Hey,
Or-
I'm Jenny Moffett, and I'm the Permanent Supportive Housing Director.
There you are, Jenny. And Lacey, no, someone else.
Hi
Yeah.
again. I'm the Director of Rapid Rehousing here at Homeward
Okay.
Bound.
Thank you both for being here. I just have a couple questions I'd love to hear from y'all how this has played out. So this is the first time hearing about it. I'm sorry I wasn't as prepared as I normally would be. So it sounds like you had a previous CDBG that was doing rapid rehousing funding that dried up. In the meantime, you had picked up this other funding, but it's not being used as quickly as you thought. So you want to reallocate. What, from your perspectives, either one of you, like what are you seeing that's changing in the atmosphere? I mean, we got some bullet points, but can y'all share with us what you're experiencing?
I can speak to the money was awarded to permanent supportive housing, kind of in the middle of the pandemic. And through the past 2 years, we've just had a really high amount of staff turnover, both in permanent supportive housing, but in particular at AHOPE and in the homeless services side of our work. And because of that, we've not been able to slate clients as quickly as we historically do, just as we've been playing catch up with staff training and having staff cover caseloads while we're in the hiring process. So things had just slowed down a little bit. At the same time, we're also, probably 6 to 8 weeks away from opening Compass Point Village, which will have 85 permanent supportive housing, additional units added to the community. And so there's already a really big push for PSH happening right now within Homeward Bound. And then all of the funding that Lacey's program has had up till this point was all COVID relief funding. And so our idea was we want to be good stewards of this money. We want to spend it down, also based on the recommendation of the National Alliance that our area really needs to grow rapid rehousing. It just made sense to investigate if we could move these funds to rapid rehousing so that we could continue to do rapid rehousing in our community and also spend down this money faster than we've been able to in the past. And then Lacey, if there's anything you want to add, feel free.
I mean, I think that pretty much covers it. I think I just want to add that at the same time that things have slowed down a little bit for permanent supportive housing, they have not slowed down for rapid rehousing. So we've seen a steady number of folks who qualify for rapid rehousing services. And we also are very interested in growing the rapid rehousing program here because of the National Alliance recommendation that we add 200 slots in our community.
That's great. That's very helpful, ladies. Thank you. It's always nice to hear from y'all. Kate, go ahead.
I'm not sure who this question should be directed to, but was the restriction on those funds for the permanent supportive housing purely based on Homeward Bound's application, or was it at any way tied to the action from the consortium? I'm just trying to understand.
I can answer that for you. It's tied directly to both the application and what we told HUD we were going to do with the funds. So now in order for us to change it, we have to do the whole process of going back to HUD after we talk to you guys so we can go to council and get approved. But we're pretty much beholden to what we told HUD.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Laura, is that queuing up for council next meeting in July?
If you guys say yes today, then yes. Hopefully it'll go to the next 30-day notice after this. So
okay, thank you. Yeah, we have a council meeting in 2 weeks, but only one this month and only one in August. So if this is a time sensitive thing, I want to make sure everybody understands for it to get through council and start writing checks, we'd have to move on this today. Any other questions for Homeward Bound or staff? Okay, I saw Sam, and then I like that Rusty's coming up as Woodfin now. I don't really love that, but Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance if you worked for Ricky here in Asheville to see that too. I wanted to say, of course, thank you, Lacey and Jenny, for your time and some explanation. I get conceptually the difference between permanent supportive and rapid rehousing, but Lacey specifically, I was hoping you could talk about the nuts and the bolts of what rapid rehousing looks like in Asheville And you had also mentioned the qualifications for this. Can you speak a little bit about to what that is and what specifically in Asheville we're seeing the increase in?
Sure. So in terms of the qualifications for rapid rehousing, the target population is not typically chronically homeless individuals, although we do serve some individuals who have chronicity. It's typically designed for folks who are experiencing homelessness for the first time, or who just don't have chronicity but do have the ability to generate additional income. So the program works in such a way that we provide financial assistance with rent and utilities, as well as supportive services to help folks figure out ways to increase their income, with the goal of them eventually stopping case management. Whereas with permanent supportive housing, they're receiving case management really for the duration of the time that they're in the program. There's not really like a time limit, but we're providing case management for a period of couple of months to up to 2 years. And during that time, we're working with them to, again, increase their income, make it sustainable for them to eventually be housed on their own without supports.
Excellent. Thank you.
Sam basically asked my questions. Like, that's what I was kind of wondering, is like, what's the difference and what are you seeing on trend numbers, Lacey? I mean, you're saying that you're seeing a rapid increase in the rapid rehousing needs.
I wouldn't say we're seeing an increase. I think we're just seeing a steady rate of people who need rapid rehousing support, who we believe have the ability to generate income. We also have had our fair share of some staffing issues here, and so I don't think we've been able to quite meet the capacity that I would like to see us meet. But we are placing folks in housing at a pretty steady rate. I think we actually just this week had, between this week and last week, we have had 5 households move into housing in our rapid rehousing program that's funded by our ESG dollars. And we'd love to be able to also be moving folks into housing utilizing the CDBG funding for staffing and home TBRA as well. I think we could definitely see the same sorts of numbers.
Okay, Jonathan Jones.
Yeah, so I was, I guess, kind of piggybacking on that question, trying to get a sense of what you all are seeing when it comes to, the number of folks who are experiencing chronic homelessness. If we're shifting funds away from those programs, what are those numbers looking like from your end?
Denny, you may be better poised to answer this question than I am, since your program works more specifically with the chronic population.
If you look at the point in time count numbers, there was a little bit of a decrease in chronic numbers. With Compass Point Village coming on point, in addition to the Ramada renovation that Step Up is doing, we'll see a heavy amount of over 40% of the folks in our community who are chronically homeless will have an opportunity to move into housing between these 2 projects alone. In addition to, I would say Homeward Bound has stabilized at this point on some level as far as case manager staff turnover. So we'll also begin to pick back up slating clients to start our regular HUD COC grants, and to finish off the 2020-2021 home funding. But the biggest need within our organization and the biggest gap in our community for housing support right now is within rapid rehousing. There's not really any other agencies besides HelpMate, which is targeting, a very specific portion of the homeless population. There's really no other agency doing rapid rehousing at this point for civilians in the community. And so to try to open up space for folks that we know have potential to earn income and stabilize before they become chronically homeless, and then join that list of folks that are already on the chronic list.
And so understanding that maybe some of this TBRA money would have been budgeted for PSH programs, Homeward Bound has a plan, or there's already other funding available to continue providing PSH that's already been committed. And so we're not like undercutting one tool in our toolbox by applying it to another.
No, we will continue to serve the same and additional folks in PSH with the HUD COC funding plus this remaining home money. Now, when we down the road go to apply for additional home funding in the future, we would probably apply for it in a way that if that funding could be used for rapid rehousing or permanent supportive housing based on kind of what the needs were in the community at that point. When we applied for these funds, we didn't have rapid rehousing at that point. So we were pretty focused just on PSH.
And as far as outcomes, do you see those shifting and like between the two grants? I think there was like 30 households for TBR for private rehousing in Asheville and maybe 12 in Buncombe, or maybe the other way around for each of those. Is that, do you see any outcomes changes in the contracts if this is approved?
Lacey, did we change the outcomes for rapid rehousing or stay the same?
They're the same. Yeah. I don't think I anticipate any changes in the outcomes at this point.
And then timeline for spin down. Like if this goes through, how would that put you all like timeline or time frame?
I think we would be trying to spend it down within the time frame for the CDBG funds that we've been awarded for staffing. So that would be within the next fiscal year.
That's good to hear.
I saw Matt Cable raise his hand, and then Dennis. That's Laura.
Thank you. Kind of just follow up, I guess, to Jonathan's question is about the outcomes and the period of performance. Just making sure that those are clear. I would imagine the programs are different, but what you can actually perform with the same amount of money. I just want to make sure that that's like your anticipated household impact, how long you can support them in a rapid rehousing scenario versus a permanent supportive housing scenario. Just making sure that that's really clear and that those really are the outcomes that we're looking at. I think this group knows that I have been consistently leery of TBRA because there's been an issue with spin down and not just particular to Homeward Bound. And I appreciate knowing what the issue has been for them, with other funds. And a lot of agencies have experienced that, particularly as COVID related funding has become available. I think that that's really kind of just my question is making sure that what's included is accurate. And then just for clarification, is there a reason that we wouldn't leave it established that they could use the funding for both scenarios, right? If we were going to look at that in the future, is there a reason that we're switching wholly from one to the other and not leaving the opportunity for both to be served?
Can I speak on that?
Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
So the whole amendment is to include rapid rehousing with the permanent supportive housing with an emphasis placed upon rapid rehousing clients. So if it ends up that, the rapid rehousing clients aren't coming through as fast or as numerous as we thought, they still have the option to use it with permanent supportive housing. So it's open to both the emphasis placed on rapid rehousing clients because it aligns with that last application cycle. They applied for both funds with those CDBG dollars.
That answers my question, particularly with this, that it's open to both. And then that to me also answers the other question about projected outcomes because they're going to base it on a more conservative, I think, impact, which would be permanent supportive as a more expensive or perhaps more costly long-term sustained expense. So I wouldn't see then the shift if you're leaving both options open. It wasn't clear to me. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a great catch. Any other questions?
if we end up spending the majority of that funding for rapid rehousing, I believe the outcomes will be higher than what is currently stated in the contract. But as Matthew said, I think we want to be prepared for either way if we need to use the fund. But right now, the plan is to definitely push those to rapid rehousing. So I could see the outcomes actually being higher.
Jonathan Jones. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. I said last one, I promise. As far as shifting to rapid rehousing and getting people into units quickly, what does the unit availability look like in the community for y'all right now? I mean, I know that's been a struggle for everybody, but as you're shifting funding, do you see that as something that's going to be more challenging now, or any movement?
I don't think it's going to be any more challenging than what we've been recently experiencing. I mean, I think it is challenging to locate affordable units within City of Asheville limits. But our housing team is highly skilled, and they're working all the time to develop really strong relationships with landlords. And so even though we have seen the same struggles that other folks have seen with finding available units, it has not really slowed down our ability, I would say, across programs to find units and place people. So I think that although that is a bit of a barrier, we are pretty well versed in this barrier at this point and able to address it.
Matt, go ahead.
I just wanted to jump in and piggyback on that, only because I feel like we need to acknowledge, if we're making this shift, given that the home art planning process suggested that we shouldn't be allocating funds from that pot of money to TVRA because of the difficulty in finding affordable units for that use. So I just wanted to make sure that, home art planning process and what we can actually perform, that can change over time or what an organization feels that they can do. But I feel like it would have been remiss not to acknowledge kind of the home art guiding us away from that. And then we're taking regular home funds and doing the work. So I appreciate them, letting us know that that's not been a barrier for them in deploying their funds in that area at this point.
Dennis, you had your hand up at some point. Are you?
I did, and actually Laura answered the question very well. I do want to add that with respect to making the switch, the thought process is one of flexibility, but also keeping in mind a couple other things. One, it's very difficult to find housing throughout the United States, rental housing, and Asheville and the counties are not exempt from that. Home TBRA makes it very difficult to do that. Home TBRA under ARP makes it even more difficult, but the flexibility should be there simply for the fact that in most cases, those that are identified as needing permanent supportive housing, and while I acknowledge, and I think we all can acknowledge this as well, there is a tremendous market for that. When you go out in the streets in this particular town and throughout the county, you see people that need housing assistance immediately, and the flexibility of making this change will allow that. With regard to the other issue in terms of spending, we have not met formally with this organization yet, but we will, because one of the things that we have as a major concern is spending. To that end, I appreciate very much the fact that they have a team in place now that's been out on the streets throughout the counties attempting to work with landlords. It's a very difficult process in of itself, and we are supportive of that, but we're also very cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of people every day that need a place to stay under the rapid rehousing model, and that makes the most sense. And I think from at the end of the day, we should be able to recognize that with regards to goals that are established, that rapid housing assistance probably will prevail over permanent supportive housing at this time. If we were having this conversation 10 years ago, I'd say something entirely different. But we're in a major crisis mode right now.
It's great. Great discussion, y'all. Everybody feeling good about where we're at? Okay, so both options will be left in there. We have a draft motion. Let's see if I can get it back up here on the page. I also understand you have an exciting new interim executive director. I hope at some point that you all no longer have the term interim. I think there's interims. But did you all hear David Nash is going to be their new interim? That's, I think, incredible in itself. So, all right, I'm ready for a motion. Would anyone care to make it if they have it in front of them? You want me to make it? Okay, I recommend that the Asheville Regional Housing Consortium approve one, an amendment to the fiscal year 21-22 annual action plan, modifying the activities of the Homeward Bound of Western North Carolina home tenant-based rental assistance program to include both supportive housing and rapid rehousing, and two, authorize the city manager to sign all necessary documents to this effect. That language was in our motion, both of the programs. How about a second?
I'll second again.
Sam, thank you. Okay, we've got to do a roll call vote. I actually have a list on my paper now, so it's not going to be in order. Karen?
Yes.
Sam?
Aye.
Jennifer Miranda?
Aye.
Liz?
Aye.
Jonathan Jones?
Aye.
Matt Cable?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Forrest?
Aye.
Ricky?
Aye.
Kate?
Aye.
Alice?
Aye.
Sage, myself, aye. Did I miss anyone?
John Conant, aye.
Oh, John, I'm so sorry. I can't see you all on my screen. It's nothing personal. I just can't see you. Okay. So that motion passes and we'll move on to council. City staff, if you could expedite that to our July meeting, it sounds like that would be helpful. And on to our next agenda item. That concludes item number 5. And we're now going on to item number 6, the Villas at Haywood update.
So
Okay.
Christina Harris would normally be doing this, but she is out today. And I know just enough to be dangerous. And so I'm going to ask that we be allowed to send correspondence to you all regarding that decision. And we can talk about it further if you'd like during our next meeting.
Now, this board doesn't meet as often. Is there anything time sensitive we need to know about?
So the time sensitivity comes into play with what happens with tax credits. Yeah.
August. Okay. Okay. Well, then we can probably stand to delay on that. And goodness, that is, other than public comment, the only thing on our agenda left. So concluding number 6 and going on to 7, public comment. Do we have anyone on the phone dying to speak?
No, we have no public comment.
We've answered all of their questions, I guess. Okay. That means all we have left to do is adjourn, but let's talk briefly about an in-person meeting. I heard that request. We have a new liaison joining us, and I appreciate the leadership already demonstrated today. So I'm for it. You guys want to get together? You want us to shoot you emails about what town?
Okay.
Dennis, did you have
that.
Dennis, did you have a proposition? Did you have a ideal location or anything?
I don't, but why don't I suggest that we have Dana send out a doodle poll with a couple of dates and times and also locations that are suitable to the group, and then we can kind of go from there.
That sounds great. Okay. Just keep in mind, folks are coming from all over and we'll be driving in, so it will take extra time.
Absolutely.
Awesome. It will be great to finally see some of you in person.
Likewise.
Anything else before we adjourn today? Anyone? All right. Oh, Dana, go ahead.
I will say, since I'll be sending out the poll, I'll do that soon, but if there is a place in anyone's jurisdiction that you know would just be perfect and you'd like to have everyone come there, feel free to email it to me, or if you have suggestions in each other's jurisdictions, that's fine as well. Just don't email each other because we'll break open meeting laws. So just send it directly to me and that'll be perfect.
Good point. And if we want to try and do it around a lunch or something, we could, I guess, but just explore that, since it sounds like, some folks might drive 45 minutes to meet for an hour and drive 45 minutes back. So I want to consider that. All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time today. Welcome to those of you who have joined us for the first time. Dennis, wonderful to have you. And I guess you'll be our lead from here on.